today. UFC 320 is in the books, and we have a new light heavyweight champion of the world, and his name is Poatan Alex Pereira. Shama. Also, what about Merab Willie? What about Corey Sandhagen's attempt to take the Bantamweight championship away, and it didn't work? Also, we have a Fight of the Year candidate, and it might go down as Fight of the Year, as Jiri Prochazka defeats Khalil Roundtree. All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy, Matt, and we are here to talk about UFC 320. Went down over the weekend, T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, where in the main event, Alex Poatan Pereira has regained the light heavyweight championship of the world as he stops Magomed Ankalaev early in the first round. So let's talk about this. So I'm watching Alex Pereira throughout the week, and Alex Pereira seemed to be agitated at something. Now, most of the media outlets and everybody that were covering journalists, everything that was covering the fight during fight week, they seemed to kind of point that agitation and everything to Magomed Ankalaev. Personally, it didn't really look like that to me. I didn't think that was the source of his agitation. As he goes out there and demolishes Magomed, it hit me that I believe the real source of his agitation, and he said as much on the mic, was that when he told everybody that wasn't the real him, that he was not injured, but he was sick. He was dealing with some sort of a virus leading into the first Ankalaev fight, as well as he had multiple injuries that were still lingering from his crazy schedule he had put himself through the entire year, right? So I believe that throughout this entire fight week, and then, of course, what he gave to y'all during the fight, was the man was upset that nobody believed him, that he wasn't switched on last time. That almost like that people began to doubt Poatan, right? And that, to me, I think really lit a fire under him. Alex Pereira, from the start, so when, Bruce Buffer announces them, they're standing there. He's got the stoic look. He's got the eyes glazed over. He's ready. Ankalaev looked poised and ready as well. So I'm not knocking him. After Bruce Buffer announced him, they bring him together with the referee. They generally only do this for championship fights. Bring him together, and, basically the referee gives final instructions, and they're allowed to either touch fists or not touch fists. They touch fists. When the bell sounded, when they back him up, the bell sounds, Alex Pereira storms across the cage and instantly gets his opponent, Ankalaev, behind the black line, right? If you think of the octagon, there's the octagon, and then so many feet away from the cage, there's another octagon in the form of a black line that highlights or outlines, even though it's inside, the structure itself. When you're behind the black line, if you're a deadly striker like Alex Pereira, if your opponent is behind the black line, that means he's between the black line and his back is up against the fence. If you're a deadly striker like Alex Pereira, that's all you want. If you're a seasoned wrestler like Merab, that's all you want. And when you get your opponent there, it's a wrap. Your game plan is going to be implemented. He rushed across the cage. Ankalaev, I guess he wasn't prepared for that. Maybe he thought there was going to be a little bit slower of a start. Pereira pushes him back, immediately begins to fire shots. At first, Ankalaev is evading or he's blocking the shots or taking the shots on his glove. He's rolling along with it. But eventually, Poatan sneaks a shot through. It doesn't drop Ankalaev, but it stuns him. It hurts him to the point that the only thing he can do is shoot. So he shoots for a takedown. But because he's hurt, it's a half-hearted shoot. It ain't really all there. You know what I'm saying? There was no intention on that shot. You know what I'm saying? So the homies got Poatan by the waist. Poatan continues to deliver shots almost in a downward direction. Ankalaev now completely drops to the mat. Poatan gets on top of him. Ankalaev is covering up with the gloves. He's doing a good job. And Poatan is trying to find the correct shot. He can't find the correct shot with his fists, so he starts delivering 12-6 elbows. Devastating. Herb Dean is watching. He continues to deliver these elbows. Finally, Herb Dean has seen enough because literally Magomed took, I don't know how many unanswered elbows and shots to the head, even though he was still covering up. And that's the end of the fight. And when the fight ended, Magomed, if you notice, when the referee Herb Dean stopped the fight, Magomed kind of lays flat. He's not passed out, but he looks to be exhausted, right? That's what lets you know that was definitely a good stoppage. Because he didn't instantly get up and start protesting or start looking at Herb Dean or anything. And then right after, my guy, Alex Pereira, does the Khabib Lane just... And that's how it's done, folks. The fight's over early. He gathers his team. Let's hit the bar. Let's holler at my kids. Let's do whatever we need to do. The night is open. The night is free. And it's onward and upward to heavyweight. And that's what it was, bro. That's what it was. It was amazing. He soaked in the fans. He started a Shama chant. All of this, take notes. All of this is star power. Because I'm going to serve somebody else here momentarily that wants to have the star power, looks like he should have the star power, but he just ain't got it yet. This is what you do. Alex Pereira comes out, his traditional walkout, right? Everything's traditional. Shaved his head. He got rid of that perfect sharp hairline, that crispy cut he had been rocking for the last few months. Man, the dude did all of that. He finished the fight quickly. He finished it early. It was early in the first round. After that, he hypes up the fans. He does a celebration that is notable, that will make videos, that will be posted on every social, from TikTok to Instagram to Facebook to MySpace, you know what I'm saying, to Black Planet. It's getting posted everywhere. You know what I'm talking about? Bro, the Shama celebration, the Khabib Lane, all of it is what you want. This is star power. This ain't a boring fighter winning and saying, I want to thank Jesus for giving me the strength to win this fight. Stop, bro. We want entertainment. You know what I'm saying? And more importantly, you don't have to entertain as a fighter. You really don't. It's cool. You don't have to entertain. But don't be mad when the UFC doesn't give you those big check opportunities, those big spotlight opportunities. Don't be mad. Face it, bro or ma'am, you just boring. You boring. And you're you should have came around in the Chuck Liddell era if you wanted to be all about skill and, I won the fight and da-da-da. Man, we in the entertainment era. You know what I'm saying? Jake Paul is outselling all of the boxers that are the greatest boxers in the world in boxing because folks want entertainment. So when you don't get the spotlight fights, the main event fights, the big pedestal fights on major cards and everything, don't get upset. You're boring. You need to adopt a personality and get out there and make it happen. Shout out to Alex Pereira as something is in my eye. Maybe one of the boring fighters threw it in there. Nevertheless, shout out to Alex Pereira. He goes out there. He gets the win. Then he takes a moment on the mic and showing his character. showing how humble he is. He takes a moment on the mic and recognizes John Jones' recently passed brother, Arthur, is the one that might have passed away. It's his oldest brother, former Baltimore Raven. Shout out to the Ravens. And, Alex Pereira, it was very interesting. It was great to see him take the moment, take the time to send that shout out to John. I know everyone believes that John is like this demon, this demonic person and everything, but everybody hurts when you lose somebody close to you. People do the most dastardly, demonic things out in these streets. People do things that are so nefarious, you know what I'm saying? Just diabolical, throwing out all the big words your boy from Louisville, Kentucky knows. They do these things, but at the end of the day, man, these people are people, and they lose loved ones and they're hurt. So I'd like to send a shout out to John Jones, but also shout out to Alex Pereira for doing that. And what goes from here, I'm going to make a video about the fallout of this show and where everybody goes, but I will just say he spoke about it as much in the post-fight press conference and different post-fight interviews. Alex Pereira is on his way to heavyweight. I don't know if his debut fight will be against Tom Aspinall or anything like that, but he's on his way to heavyweight. He's moving up. There's really nothing else left for him to do at light heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? After he demolishes Magomed like that, bro, he's already beaten Jiri twice. You know what I'm saying? And do you really think, and no disrespect to this man, I will disrespect him here shortly, but no disrespect to Black Jag Carlos Alberg, but do you really believe right now that Alberg is going to go out there and do anything to Alex Pereira? Yeah, he's a striker himself, but is it believable? Yeah, he could definitely beat Alex Pereira. Anybody can be beaten. But is that something that's going to sell fights? Get ready to sell shows? You saw after this fight was over, Alex Pereira was trying to put his big toes on his feet back in position. This man is later in his career. He ain't got time to be fighting Black Jag Carlos Alberg. You know what I'm talking about? We ain't got time for Black Jag. You know what I'm talking about? We got to move on. We got to move on. He's on the heavyweight. I don't know if he'll get a shot at Tom Aspinall, but he's on the heavyweight. We will see where that goes. Let's move on. Co-main event. Merab Dvalishvili goes out there and defends his Bantamweight championship against Cory Sandhagen. Here's the thing, man. Shout out to Cory Sandhagen. He had a couple of moments. Did he ever have Merab rocked? No. Did he ever have Merab in a submission where you're like, Merab might tap? No. None of that. But when I say moments, he had a couple of moments where he wasn't overwhelmed by Merab's game, right? He didn't do nothing to Merab in those moments, but he had a few moments in which Cory was trying to stay with it. He was trying to hang with him. And he had a few moments where he didn't look overwhelmed. And that's about all I can say. You know, that's about all I can say about Cory's performance. You know, we've seen worse performances against Merab. So I'm not hating on him. But that's the best that you could say about Cory's performance, is he had moments where he did not look overwhelmed. And that's about all you can say. Merab goes out there. Merab does Merab things. I'm not really sure where the UFC is going to pivot to next as far as a Merab fight. He was actually calling for a fight against Petr Yan, but let's be honest, let's be real. I mean, we already see that fight play out the first time. It's when he set the first takedown record of 55, 65, 95 takedown shots in one fight. That's what you did it the first time. We don't need to see it a second time. You know, I love Petr Yan, but we don't need to see that a second time. So, and Merab doesn't seem to be too willing to go up and fight Alexander Volkanovski. I believe there's some sort of relationship, friendship there. So, I'm not sure where Merab goes from here, but we will see. But let's move on to Fight of the Year candidate. Might end up winning Fight of the Year. And that is Jiri Prochazka stepped in the octagon with Khalil Roundtree. This fight was epic. This fight was amazing, right? And it started slow. The first round, as I'm watching the entire fight week build-up, Khalil Roundtree is dialed in. He's on. He's switched on. He's dialed in. And the first round showed you that. the first round, Khalil is catching Jiri Prochazka with that 1-2. And granted, he's never landing flush because Yuri's doing a good job, pretty good job, of a little bit of head movement and of taking some of the shots on the gloves and rolling with some of the shots. And, you know, Khalil is very poised. He's not overwhelming him with volume. He's very poised. He's just keeping a snappy 1-2 out there, you know, launching a few hooks every now and then. And then, as he continues to throw a jab, and Jiri is having trouble finding his footing. And the commentator spoke about this. Coach Dean Thomas, who they went to on the commentary, talked about this. And for the life of me, I really don't know if Jiri Prochazka has some sort of, you know, there was a lot of talk about possible knee injury because he seemed to have a lot of trouble getting his footing. He was slipping everywhere. And his movement was extremely awkward. More awkward than normal for Jiri. But to be honest, Jiri is such a character. I don't know if there's really something wrong or if that's just his new style of movement and what he uses is to kind of move into his head movement. Because Yuri's defense is very interesting. Yuri's not going to have your traditional, you know, head movement. And if you was watching back in the day, in the Ronda Rousey days, you understand that reference. He doesn't have that traditional head movement. He doesn't have that, right? But he almost has a style in which he's moving around. He gets off balance, and in that movement of, oh, I'm falling all the way to the right, he jolts out a swift head movement, the opposite side. And so, very strange, but more towards about the middle, maybe the late part of the first round, Roundtree catches Jiri with a shot. And you would think it would have wobbled Jiri. It would have halted him. It would have stopped him. No. It hypes Jiri up. And Jiri walks over towards the center of the octagon and is like, oh! And he's ready to battle. That's the type of berserker, marauder. He's a marauder! That's the type of character, Joe Rogan right there, that Jiri Prochazka is. So, of course, he clearly loses the first round, but he doesn't take a ton of damage. Khalil is still locked in. He's still poised. Second round, Khalil does the same thing. He stays poised. He stays locked in. A quick jab here and there. A snappy 1-2. Some devastating Muay Thai leg kicks, right? He's doing his thing. Yuri's not landing hardly anything. He's landing a shot here and there. But if you notice in the second round, the first half of the second round, Khalil Roundtree is implementing his game plan. He's poised. I was sitting there watching this fight with my wife. I told her, Khalil is poised. He's not overthrowing. He's locked in. But as we're watching, halfway through that second round, Jiri begins to implement his game. Where all of the awkward movements that you're sitting there watching and you're like, why is he doing that? The last half of the second round, they began to make sense because they were confusing. It was like it clicked for Jiri. It was like he was trying to find that awkward style. He was trying to find that awkward, that awkward moment, that awkward switch, right? His awkward movements. Nobody, he looks like he's falling over. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he's got all that awkward movement, but he's trying to switch on. He's trying to dial in for this fight. Not for the fight, but he's trying to dial in that awkward movement against Khalil Roundtree's offense, in which when Jiri dials that in, his opponents don't know what to do. At first, all that awkward movement gets him caught. It gets him to catch a lot of punches right to the face. Luckily, Yuri's got an amazing chin, right? But when Jiri dials in, that awkward movement causes opponents to completely begin to miss all of their shots. Halfway through the second round, Jiri got dialed in. And if you go back and watch this fight, you'll notice that halfway through the second round, the last half, Yuri's awkward movements and leaning in and leaning back as I'm knocking the camera and doing all of this stuff, bro, it started to work. and Khalil began to miss more. But Khalil then begins to step it up because I think Khalil realizes, I'm not landing my shots anymore. So Khalil, I think, then thinks, I need to put some mustard. Mustard! I need to put some mustard on these shots. I need to put a little lemon pepper. You know what I'm saying? A little lemon pepper stepper on these shots. Because if I can connect with something, I need to drop him. I need to get him out of here because I'm losing my range. I'm not hitting him anymore. I've lost my range. I found my range in the first round and the first part of the second, but now I've lost it. His movement is too awkward. And that was the beginning of the downfall for Khalil Roundtree. And me and my wife, we was talking about, we saw it as much. We saw it. Like he just kept missing his shots at that point, right? And so, even though he's still catching Jiri with things, he's beginning to miss his shots. And they are beginning to throw back and forth a little bit. Third round comes. The first minute and a half to 2 minutes, that is what you saw from Khalil Roundtree. He realized that he's throwing these shots, and while some of them are landing, Jiri's chin is good enough to eat them. And Jiri is still plodding forward. Only now his movement, his awkward movements are dialed in. And now Khalil has lost his range. So he punches here, his head is over here. He punches here, his head is over there. He punches here, Jiri's a little bit too far back. And then when he connects with Jiri eats the shot and continues the movement. So now Khalil's only chance is to put as much stank on these punches, as much power as he can into this 1-2 that he's throwing, in hopes that if he lands, he just knocks Jiri out and we can end this because I've lost the range. And that was the mistake. And if it would have worked, it would have been a heroic effort. So that's how mixed martial arts sometimes you see something, you're like, why did he do that? That was so stupid. But if it had worked, he would have been a hero. He'd been one of the greatest fighters you ever saw. That's what happened right here with Khalil Roundtree. So I'm not knocking him. It was a tremendous performance, and shout out to him. Each time he takes an L, Khalil comes back stronger and with more fan support. Because you can see he wears his heart on his sleeve. And you could tell this means everything to him. And you felt bad when Jiri beat him. You were happy because Jiri's just an amazing fighter and you love him. But you felt bad for Khalil Roundtree because for a round and a half, almost a full 2 rounds, he had fought a great fight. But Jiri Prochazka is just that man. This man goes out into the forest behind his crib, behind his house, and he trains by kicking and punching trees and snapping the bark off of it. You know what I'm saying? He swims under frozen rivers. You know what I'm saying? No joke. You can look that up. There's videos out there. This is a man that goes to college and gets a business degree just to do it to improve his mind and to find out what he can pull from that and apply to the mental side of fighting. This is a different character. But he's a different character that can't beat Alex Pereira. So, I don't really know where he goes from here. Be sure to be watching. Later on this week, I'm going to have a video where we're going to talk about the fallout of UFC 320 and where everyone goes. Also, tomorrow I'm going to drop a video that's going to go over all the rest of the fights on UFC 320. So, hang in there with your boy. We're going to talk about everything else because there was a few other things that needed to be discussed. You know what I'm saying? We need to be talking about that Josh Emmett fight. You know what I'm saying? We need to be talking about that Josh Emmett fight and how that was a masterpiece. So, nevertheless, man, Jiri Prochazka goes out there. Eventually, he knocks out Khalil Roundtree. Khalil Roundtree falls face first into the canvas, and that's all she wrote. And in Jiri's post-fight speech, he told Joe Rogan, that first round was boring to me. Early in the second round was boring to me. I did not feel the danger. And he's telling Joe Rogan when he feels the danger, it turns him on. It makes him feel alive. Pause. And then he's ready to go out there and be the berserker that we saw him to be, Jiri Prochazka. So now that Alex Pereira won that main event fight, and it was quality, such a humble guy, such an honest guy to watch Jiri kind of get emotional and, at Alex Pereira winning. A lot of people try to act like he was getting emotional because he knew he wasn't going to get that world title shot. Man, he's a fan of mixed martial arts and fighting. He's like a modern day samurai. And I believe that him watching Alex Pereira just go out there and just take the soul from Magomed Ankalaev, it was a beautiful thing to see because he didn't have no time. He wasn't going to waste time. He wasn't going to sit around and let Magomed implement those leg kicks. He wasn't going to sit around and let Magomed implement that wrestling game plan. He wasn't going to sit around and let him get his jab off and find his range. He just went out there and took that title. He took the title like a bully takes lunch money in the lunchroom from Magomed Ankalaev. And I think Jiri saw the beauty in that. So, but chill out, Jiri, because if what I'm saying is true, man, Alex Pereira is going to go up to heavyweight. Eventually, he'll vacate that light heavyweight championship more than likely. And it'll probably be you. And let's get to this, man. It'll probably be Jiri Prochazka and Dusty Blackjack Carlos Alberg fighting for the vacant title. Why is Carlos Alberg dusty? Carlos Alberg is dusty because he goes out there a week ago. He wins in the main event in devastating fashion. Everybody's like, oh man, he's next up after this Pereira Ankalaev fight. He could be next to be fighting for the belt. He goes out there, he does that, he gets on the mic, he says he wants the UFC to fly him to Las Vegas so he can be there for the main event between Alex Pereira and Ankalaev. He wants to see what happens because he wants the winner. Jiri wins his fight. After Jiri wins his fight, Joe Rogan, shout out to him, actually did his due diligence and brought up Blackjack Carlos Alberg. Normally, Joe goes completely against the company and says the wrong person and the wrong thing. But this time he was dialed in and brought up, Carlos Alberg, this is as Jiri was talking about, he won a shot for the title. He's like, well, Carlos Alberg did win last week and he's still in this. And what do you think about him? And Jiri began to talk about him. Carlos Alberg, after the UFC flew him out there, gave him a front row seat to where for this specific moment, this moment right here, this specific moment is why you are in America, in Las Vegas. Carlos Alberg is not in his seat and doesn't show up, comes walking up looking goofy as hell. At the very end, this goofball, this goof troop, this koofy, he comes walking up like all late to his seat at the end of the post-fight speech from Jiri and missed his moment. Where did you go? Would you take a bathroom break? Would you try to go get another beer? Where did you go? They flew you from your continent to America to Las Vegas for that moment. Imagine if he would have been sitting in his seat like he was supposed to be, and when he gets brought up, he stands up. He motions toward Jiri Prochazka. And then you know that he knew he fucked up. When the camera shows him walk into his seat, he looked like a little boy. He looked like a child. Like, oh man, I messed this up. Oh geez, I'm supposed to be in my seat. Oh geez. Blackjack Carlos Alberg, man, watch out. Man, get out of here, bro. We ain't even trying to hear it now. I don't care about your win streak. We ain't trying to hear it now. I don't care about your win streak. I don't care about nothing you got to say now. Anytime you get up to go get a corn dog from your seat at the concessions instead of setting your little silly ass there, so that way you can be right there when they put the camera on you, I ain't got nothing for you. So I ain't going to hold you. That was that, man. Those were the three biggest fights at UFC 320. Outstanding mixed martial arts skills on display. Like I said, I got a video coming out later in the week where we're going to talk about the fallout from this and see where this goes. Also I'm going to have a video I'm going to release tomorrow. We're going to cover the other things that went down on this card. Might even discuss a little bit of the fallout on that, honestly. I got a video coming later this week to break down the upcoming fights. We got a lot of stuff going on, man. I got a new episode of Low Key Legends I'm getting ready to do, possibly with someone off of this fight card that I just discussed. We got a lot of things in the fire. Also, I'm about to start doing a new segment, a new set of videos to kind of give you you guys an idea of your boy Matt. I'm going to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit. I got a new series I'm going to do where I'm going to be telling stories from my colorful ass life, because I've definitely lived a colorful ass life, and I've began to think about, like, man, y'all don't really know all the stuff that your boy did. So, I mean, and I ain't did nothing. I'm a regular guy. But still, I got a lot of crazy stories. So I'm going to start a matter of fact story segment where I tell you a little story about something from your boy's life, from his past. We got a lot of things in the works. We got matter of fact motivations on the way. I'm going to be on here giving a little quick motivational, tips, addressing a few little things in the world today. So we getting ready to launch this channel. But nevertheless, I do want to thank you guys. I appreciate all the love, all the support. Thank you for checking out these videos. Please like, subscribe, comment. And once again, I do want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.